Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Janae Lee with the Institute of Child Nutrition, and I would like to welcome you to the CICN October webinar, Making Time for Scratch Cooking, Operational Efficiencies and Strategies to Streamline Food Production in School Meals. During today's webinar, all attendees will be muted. There will be time reserved for questions at the end of today's webinar, and if you have a question, please utilize the Q&A box on your screen and you can put your question there. We will try to get to as many questions as we can, but all questions may not be answered today. After the webinar, a link to complete a short survey will appear. Please utilize that link to complete the evaluation, as ICN really appreciates your feedback that you provide us. And individuals who have registered, you will receive a follow-up email that contains a webinar certificate of attendance, a recording link of this webinar, which is also available on our iLearn portal, and a link to the evaluation survey in case you missed the pop-up link today. Due to the nature of this webinar, the slide deck will not be shared with you all today, but you will be able to view the webinar in video format. You can access all of the resources for free as well on the CICN website. The Culinary Institute of Child Nutrition is a part of the Institute of Child Nutrition, which is the only federally funded national center dedicated to applied research, education, and training, and technical assistance for child nutrition programs. The CICN was launched in 2018 by the Institute of Child Nutrition and the USDA Food and Nutrition Service to assist in meeting the unique culinary training, technical assistance, and professional development needs of school culinary operators. Please visit the Culinary Institute of Child Nutrition online to access the full catalog of training, as well as tools and resources to support the goals for your school nutrition program, school culinary operations. The topics covered in today's webinar fall under the key areas nutrition and operations and meet the USDA Professional Standards Codes 1100 menu planning and 2100 food production. Today's webinar presenters will share practical operational efficiencies that support incorporating scratch and speed scratch recipes into school meal programs. The learning objectives for today's webinar are to identify operational efficiencies that support incorporating scratch and speed scratch cooking into school meal programs, as well as recall practical strategies to improve workflow and maintain meal quality while streamlining food production. We're so excited to have you all here today, and I am going to now introduce our wonderful panelists. We have Rachel Patrigalia, John Huff, and Michael Dubaus, who will be joining us today from the Georgia Department of Education. With a combined 67 years of professional culinary experience, the Georgia Department of Education School Nutrition Culinary Specialists bring unmatched expertise to districts across the state. Their hands-on approach empowers school nutrition programs to build kitchen confidence, elevate food quality, and foster a K-12 culinary culture centered on a food-first philosophy. Blending deep knowledge of culinary arts with practical experience in school operations, these specialists deliver actionable strategies that enhance every aspect of school meals, from ingredients to preparation to execution and flavor. Their work transforms the student dining experience while supporting regulatory compliance and financial sustainability. Together, they are redefining school meals, ensuring quality, flavor, and care for every student every day. So at this time, I'm super excited to introduce John Huff, who will now take us through the presentation with his colleagues today.
Awesome. And thank you, Janae, and thank you all for joining us, and thank you to ICN for having us. We're really excited to be here. Here in North Georgia, where I live, it feels like it's kind of the very first day of fall. It's very nice weather out right now, and I'm all here for that one because this is my favorite time of year. Now, hopefully, I'll give it just a second, but the screen should come up.
Yes, that looks great, John.
Thank you. Awesome. So yeah, like Janae said, we're here to talk about scratch cooking and some of the opportunities that we have at a state level to really make cooking a little bit more approachable and beneficial for the staff across the state. Okay. Now, in here in Georgia School Nutrition, quality school meals is at the core of everything that we do. We strive ourselves on excellent customer service and experience, meals that meet and exceed those meal pattern requirements, that look great, taste even better, and of course contain a lot of our Georgia grown fresh fruits and vegetables. Developing a quality K-12 menu really starts with building a K-12 culinary culture, which we'll get to here in a minute. And throughout this program and throughout your school year, we really encourage you all to look at scratch cooking and menu planning as a continuous process. It's not a one and done approach. It takes planning. You'll have to evaluate, make a plan, align your standards, focus your efforts based on the goals that you have set for your program. A K-12 culinary culture is a major element in ensuring consistency in what is essential, and it makes purposeful operation decisions to help achieve quality school meals for every student in every school every single day. Now, I mentioned the word K-12 culinary culture a couple times. What exactly is a K-12 culinary culture? That is a mindset of more than just food in your programs. It is a mindset shift. It sets new expectations for your school meal programs, focuses on culinary excellence, teamwork, pride in your service. Everything really revolves around food first, the quality of the ingredients that you are procuring, the consistency of the recipes that you are giving to your staff or you're using within your kitchens, and all that extra detail and care that you put into every single meal that you're giving to your students. A K-12 culinary culture is really a mindset that changes the program expectations. Now, why does this matter? It changes your program's reputation. It helps transform how your program is perceived internally with your staff, with your students, and also the community as a whole. It builds trust and respect with students, parents, district leaders, your office staff, everyone involved in your school nutrition program. It helps build that trust and respect. It creates a brand and loyalty following for your students, and your program is recognizable. It helps recognize more of a food identity for your schools, and it allows your students to really look forward to those meals that they come to every single day in all of our kitchens. It also helps elevate participation and engagement, which we know is a huge, huge part of everyone's program. We always want every single student who is able to eat a school meal to choose to eat your school meals. Increasing that K-12 culinary culture helps promote your program, which will then increase that participation. One of the more important, not more important, but one of the big things for me is staff. It helps empower the staff. One of my favorite things to do in my role as a culinary specialist is to go out and work side by side with all of our frontline staff here in the state of Georgia. And I really take a lot of pride in hopefully being able to help the hard work that they do every single day a little bit easier and a little bit better. And that is done by empowering the staff through training, clear expectations within your program, and the pride in their work. It leads to a higher productivity, the morale in your kitchens improves, and it makes the kitchen a much more well-oiled machine and much more efficient. It also fosters a sense of purpose and ownership within the program. So your staff now feels like they're part of something bigger. And it helps focus the program on, like I said, some of these key items, improving the quality of the ingredients, the making sure that recipes are dialed in and making sure that they make sense and that they are consistent throughout all the schools that you're giving them to. Students will notice the difference in once you start implementing these small cultural changes within your program. It's not just the food, it is an experience. It encourages that continuous improvement across the board, and consistency really just becomes the standard rather than the expectation within your programs. So I'm going to pass it on to Mike now who's going to kind of talk to about some of the benefits of why scratch cooking is so important to your programs.
All right, great. Thanks, John. So we're talking about scratch cooking, speed scratch. Why is that important? You know, I think one thing about this really is that it gives the menu planners and the staff the power back into their kitchen instead of letting manufacturers drive your menu and hear what's the latest and greatest. Now that we can go over here and make things, we have more control of what our recipes and what our menus are going to be. So with that is going to be improved nutrition. Scratch cooking allows you to use fresh, whole ingredients, which are often more nutrient dense than the processed foods that you get that are those convenience items. Through standardized recipes, you have more control over the sodium, the fat, the calories, and the improved nutrition results to improve health outcomes for students. So when the regulations change a little bit, when you have those recipes, you can really adjust them a lot easier than waiting for manufacturers to change their whole process. Better taste. Scratch cooked foods is usually using the fresher ingredients, so tastes better overall when it's freshly prepared like that, and increases the satisfaction and enjoyment of the school meals. Cost savings. While there are many initial investment, maybe an initial investment in the equipment and supplies and even some of the training to do this, scratch cooking can ultimately save money in the long run by reducing the need for the processed foods. And you just heard Chef John talking about that sense of pride and accomplishment with your staff. That's really going to help with your staff retention, because you hear a lot about we're shorthanded all the time. But you think about it, so they're given something, they're implementing scratch cooking can significantly improve your employee retention by providing valuable training opportunities, teaching them true culinary skills. So they're not lunch ladies, they're now K-12 culinarians in these kitchens now. So as employees learn and gain experience in scratch cooking, they become more invested in their work and feel valued for their contributions. Now, when it comes to the obstacles, which there always will be, and but they're not doesn't mean they can't be overcome. So production time, when you're doing scratch cooking, especially starting out, it could take a little bit more time because you got to practice it and you got to get that down. Recipe training, making sure those recipes are correct, make sure they're accurate, and more importantly, make sure they're followed every single time that you're preparing that dish. Access to culinary skills. So a lot of people don't have that culinary background coming into school nutrition kitchens, but that doesn't mean that we can't work with that training and teach those skills to the staffs so they understand how to do it, so they are comfortable using that chef knife and not just a paring knife for everything in the kitchen. Access to equipment and tools. So yes, your programs probably some of the best in my experience going through culinary, through restaurants and hotels and country clubs. A lot of these school nutrition kitchens are very, very well equipped. So finding those pieces of equipment that you may already have that's back in a storeroom under a trash bag, learning how to use that, getting those pieces of equipment and knowing and understanding what it is that can do, that can be another person for you right there. So you have those tools and making sure you understand how they work and use them appropriately. Potential opportunities, ingredients measured and mixed correctly. You got to make sure that they're done correct. Proper crediting is probably one of the biggest challenges that people might think of. But if you follow the program, you follow the recipes, then you're just going to be able to get that done properly. So, like if you're doing something that's a grain, is it really a 2 bread grain credit? So you just got to make sure that the back of the house stuff is done properly so that you are doing it where it makes sense. So these considerations are real. So selecting the right scratch concepts is critical. So as is implementing these different processes as well. So even starting with options that allow students to customize the item. So think about restaurants that you're allowed to go and you can choose the way you want that meal presented or prepared, your final product. So those little small steps go a long way and starting the process into being scratch and speed scratch cookings. So what can you do to ensure success? We hope to answer these and many more of the questions today. In the end, we will show you the small changes to your program that you can make huge differences and in the quality of meals being served, not to mention the perception of your program to your students and their parents. Hey, John, I'm going to pass it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, so we're going to start here at the beginning, starting about analyzing your menu needs. You know, your staff is not going to do any scratch cooking unless there are menu items on there. So this is where the starting point is going to be. So when we talk about analyzing your menu needs, what we're doing is evaluating and identify items that you want to keep. And some of those items are any of those items are going to help drive participation because we know that is a big goal. However, there are a few things to consider when you're looking at that. First thing you want to do, make yourself a list. What are your student favorites? What are some items that you and or your staff are super proud of that they don't want to see go away? Because that will help also with that, staff morale and that confidence within the kitchens. You might have to tweak some items here or there, but keeping this general concept of some of these fan favorites, so to speak, is pretty important in driving or analyzing your menus. Now, what items are currently on your menus that you're proud of would include, any items that your staff is really proud of that they want to make sure that students gravitate toward it. So what that means is what I was trying to say is you don't want to put on an item that is not necessarily popular that your staff is super proud of, but you might have to tweak that a little bit to make it more approachable for students depending on the grade level. Now, how does your menu length feel? How many of each category are you offering? For example, are you offering just one entree? Are you offering 6 entrees? You want to have that happy medium there. Is your current menu cycle long enough to provide a variety of student favorites and to avoid fatigue, that student fatigue? 2-week cycle versus a 4-week cycle, which one is best for you and your program? But you also want to make sure that it's not so long that your inventory and the number of entrees, the number of things you're having to order, your recipe book is so large that it becomes a little bit overwhelming. And you want to be able to change your menu a little bit every single month. You should not have a stagnant menu throughout all months of the year with your program. Look at a variety of items individually rather than at the whole day. There will likely be items on your menu that you want to keep and items that you want to discontinue that fall on the same day. And that is fine. That is completely approachable and doable. This activity, or being able to look through and analyze your menus, this activity will naturally help you discover those items that can be phased out, making it easier to strategically start thinking of items and ingredients that you can fill in these gaps and replace some of them. Begin creating your want list. Once you know the items or recipes you want to keep, you will use these to kind of create that base menu throughout your program. Now, like I said, one of my favorite things to do is getting into these kitchens and working side by sides with these school nutrition professionals and help build their confidence within their teams. Building a confident kitchen team takes practice and a lot of focus to be able to do it well. When confidence is cultivated, creates a strong commitment to the goal and excellence of your program. This sense of confidence instills that calm within a sometimes chaotic environment. If you can stay calm, if your leaders can stay calm, then that is contagious within your program. It helps rally the team around a common purpose, and it also builds the excitement about the work that they're doing every single day. It also really plays a crucial role in increasing that staff retention. I cannot say that enough. It helps increase staff retention. Having that value and that sense of pride in the work that they're doing. As employees feel empowered and supported in their programs, they tend to stay longer. ultimately, this confidence leads to a creation of quality meals that consistently exceeds expectations of yourselves and of your students. Now, establishing kitchen teams starts with solid program fundamentals, paired with very specific culinary focused training that ensures the team has the skill and knowledge to succeed. So when we're talking about these culinary trainings and the operations within your programs, you want to approach the service through the eyes of your students. One thing that we do a lot when we're in these schools is when we set up our serving lines, something as simple as walking through a serving line like a student would, seeing what everything looks like, making sure that the trays are where they're supposed to be, or the order of what they're picking up, their items makes sense, making sure that it's not overly crowded or cluttered on your line. That is all K-12 culinary culture. Now, then you have to practice and hone all of these skills. Training with a culinary focus will create a connection to the ingredients that you're serving, to the entrees and the meals that you're putting out, to the customer, your students. It also leads to a deeper appreciation and care for the work that's being done at a greater level of confidence. Start with the fundamentals. This includes things like basic knife skills, which you can see on some of the pictures there on your screen. Um, some basic cooking techniques, what we'll get into here in a little while. But like some of the techniques that we're doing are so interchangeable depending on what vegetable you're doing. A lot of it just carries over from one thing to the next. Equipment training is a big deal, especially when you get into scratch cooking. Like Michael was saying earlier, those extra pieces of equipment really serve as an extra body in the kitchen, but you have to be properly trained on it. You cannot expect people just to know what a VCM does or all the different blades within your food processor, which one to use for which ingredient. All that takes that purposeful and focused training that we were speaking on. Like Michael was saying, all three of us, Rachel, Michael, and myself, we all have a restaurant background or hospitality background, and I'd never seen a VCM until I started working in school nutrition because they just were not common in the restaurants that I worked in. So I needed training on them when I started working in school nutrition. Batch cooking is another one that you really have to be focused on the training. When to batch cook, how to batch cook, when it's needed and when it's not, which items can be held a little bit longer in your warmers rather than need to be batch cooked every 15, 20, 30 minutes. Now, at the Georgia Department of Education, we do have a lot of culinary resources on our webpage, and you can see a list of just a few of them there on the left side of your screen that we have. All of our resources are designed to create a blueprint that really translates menu execution into a simplified task and really helps lead to those successful results. Once again, they help build these confidence in the kitchen teams. They're available to anyone to be able to utilize whenever they need it. It ensures that the K-12 culinary culture that we talked about is being focused on. We don't put anything on our culinary resources without that mindset. So we're always thinking in that same culinary culture mindset as well. Um, we also really try to streamline production, make things more efficient in the kitchen. You can see on there we have an essential smallwares list on our webpage, which you can click on that, and this is what we feel every single kitchen should have available to really be able to help streamline batch cooking and therefore make scratch cooking more approachable throughout our state and the nation. Another resource that we do every single month is our Culinary Connections monthly live webinar. It is really created specifically for managers and that frontline staff in mind. These are webinars that we focus on a variety of different things, and they always change month in and month out, but it can be culinary techniques, knife skills, pieces of equipment that we focus on. And we always include some sort of locally grown harvest of the month items in our recipes on these as well. But they're really very smart and strategic opportunities for our school nutrition professionals across the state to be able to log into them live and watch them live and ask us questions on a monthly basis. Now, I know a lot of you guys are not in Georgia, so unfortunately you wouldn't be able to watch them live with us, but the QR code on your screen there would take you to our website where all of them are recorded and can be watched at your own leisure. So the link on there takes us to one that we did on cold pasta entrees. And you scan the QR code there, you can scroll down and you can see all the other ones that we have done over the past. Now, on the next slide, we're going to actually show you guys a clip, and this is a sneak peek because this one actually has not been aired yet. This is actually coming out next month, but we just wanted to show you an example of what we're talking about with our culinary connection. So I'm gonna hit play. Hopefully you guys will be able to hear it. If not, let me know.
So you can see it makes quick work of getting that cabbage shredded. So you can imagine if you're serving 500 students and you need to go through a half a case of cabbage, it won't take you much time at all to do that. So now, got that purple cabbage and the green cabbage mixed together and give us a lot of beautiful color for our slaw. And then unplug it because I'm going to change the blades on it now when I do my carrots to add to the slaw. I'll lift this up. My locking pin off. We're going to pull this slicing blade out. Get it out of the way. I'm going to leave the extruder plate in there still. And I'm going to do carrots. And this one I'm going to use, it's got a horizontal blade. And then it's also got little teeth coming up too, almost like a little mandolin. This is going to be the little strips of the carrot to kind of give you a thicker, almost like matchstick size shredding. So this will go on the same way, has the same type of connector on the bottom. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the carrots in to the smaller hole here. So turn it on. So you can see if you had 10 pounds of carrots you wanted to add to your slaw, it wouldn't take any time at all to get that prep down. So add that into my bowl for my slaw. And now you're ready for your dressing to make your slaw ready to go. So now I've got the bright green and purple and orange, so it's going to be a really pretty side dish to add to your school tray.
Yeah, so that is obviously Michael doing one of our culinary connections. And you know, I like this clip because that piece of equipment on there, like we were talking about, sometimes working in a commercial kitchen can be an intimidating place. A big heavy piece of equipment like that with all these different scary blades and you don't know exactly which one to use. We, on our culinary connections, we really help break down a lot of them. Obviously, we cannot be in all 189 districts across our state, but this is an opportunity for every single school nutrition professional in the state to be able to join us, to be able to walk through these things step by step. Now, I believe it's Rachel.
So you can see
the action, and she's going to talk to you guys a little bit about recipes.
Thank you, John. Thank you guys for joining us today. It's an honor to be able to speak to all of you, and it's just really exciting that the ICN is having, this webinar on speed scratch cooking, and that everyone here is interested in it because, our job is to ensure that students are fueled and ready to learn, and we want to make sure that they're getting the most nutritious food, and we have the ability to provide that really well. A lot of what we've talked about so far has been setting that foundation, and we really emphasize it because it's so important to have a solid approach to incorporating more scratch cooking, more speed scratch cooking onto your menu. So you want to start with a small change. And on this screen, you'll see fresh green beans. And, we always love suggesting to districts and kitchens, start with vegetables. They allow you to practice the techniques. Two of the most common ways, if you're not serving vegetables raw, are going to be to steam them or to roast them. And so when you're starting with something like vegetables, and you can take, if you're bringing in canned green beans, start bringing in some fresh green beans, and you can practice those cooking techniques in smaller quantities. And that's really important because that sets you up for success. You want to build up to one of the most popular dishes. We're not going to go in and, okay, we're going to switch from your, chicken tenders to a raw chicken tender that you're going to bread back of house. And, it's really not going to set you up for a lot of success. And you want to be excited about what you're doing and rally as a team, and for the students to be excited. So starting with vegetables, you're able to perfect that steaming technique, taste it. What does the color look like? What does the texture look like? Play around with some different seasoning blends. You could start adding some different zest to it using a microplane, because you want to really focus on that cooking technique and also the characteristics of the flavor, how it holds. That will help you identify, what needs to be batch cooked, how frequently it needs to be batch cooked, and it allows for a level of grace with incorporating more scratched items and with training, because it takes practice. Every skill, whether it's in the kitchen or, if you know how to play an instrument well, it all takes practice and it all evolves over time. Now, recipes. Recipes are essential. This is your blueprint. It's going to give you ground up success. So making sure that your standardized recipe is not just written for compliance, as far as I've got my ingredients, it's telling me my serving size and what component it contributes to. Recipes that give steps that you can do ahead of time, that give indicators as far as what equipment it's going to be used, what equipment you're going to utilize for executing it, whether you're going to use smallwares or not, and if it needs to be batch cooked, how it should be held, what you can do ahead of time. So as you're using recipes and incorporating recipes for more scratch cooking, you want to work collectively between the kitchen's executing whatever the item is and whoever the recipe writer is. If you are a part of that kitchen team and you're finding that, this just feels like it's missing, or this feels a little bit like a barrier or an obstacle or a little bit of a roadblock, it doesn't feel very smooth, make those notes and communicate that back to your recipe writer, so that that recipe, without being overly long, you don't want it to have unnecessary items, but it is complete. It has clear instructions. It has everything that's important to executing it well. Now, you want to be able to expand. So the idea behind your, incorporating scratch and incorporating, more speed scratch is to be able to grow what's already on your menu, or start incorporating if you don't really have any on your menu. You want it to evolve and you want it to expand. So once you've really mastered either, fresh vegetables, or it could be fresh fruits, and then you're going to roast those off, I want to highlight the state of Georgia and what districts have been doing to then expand. So this is Brooks County, and it's their roasted herb and lemon chicken. What's really special about this is that they expanded the amount of speed scratch cooking on their menu, it's the USDA pre-cooked bone-in chicken. A lot of people might be bringing that into your district. You might be roasting it off. Well, they marinate it the day before to incorporate that flavor, just infuse lemon. They made their own spice blend, like a citrus spice blend. And then the next day they roast that off. They're also adding some fresh lemon to it. They add some lime to it, and they're able to practice again, more knife skills, that flavor development. And then this exact same technique with the lemon and herb chicken can then be placed in a different week on the menu with a mojo roasted chicken. So then, I'm going to change the ingredients in the marinade. I'm going to change my lemon to lime. The technique is the same. So then kitchen's running very efficiently. You've perfected the execution of it. You know exactly what it should look like. But for the students, it feels very new and unique just because of the flavor profile. This is another great way to just continuously expand on speckling in, speed scratch cooking. And so this is a combination of canned beans. However, they add to it fresh onion, fresh tomato, fresh bell pepper, and fresh jalapenos. They also make a really great spice blend and then cook this off, low and slow. So it's something that does not need to be batch cooked because that flavor just really develops. It utilizes the small wares, and then it also ensures that these fresh ingredients that you're bringing in are not going to go to waste, and they're used in different ways all throughout the menu. This is Towns County and the rice pilaf. So we have a base recipe for rice pilaf, and it works 100% of the time. It can be cooked in the oven. It can be cooked in the steamer. It is flavorful just on its own because every single ingredient should be flavorful, regardless of if it's mixed with something or not. Because they know that base rice recipe, for this dish, they just added some ginger to it to give it, just a slightly different flavor. And then, since they have been practicing their fresh vegetables and steaming those, that's Georgia grown fresh broccoli, Georgia grown fresh carrots that then is steamed and added to the beef that they're stir frying off with an Asian glaze. And so again, it's just those building blocks of how then everything is being touched with just little elements that elevate the flavor, the presentation, the quality, but it flows in seamlessly for the kitchen team because it's all techniques that they're now just practicing over and over and over again. And this is really special. Gwinnett County Public Schools, they engage the students. And students want to be a part of the conversation. They want to be a part of the experience. For any of you watching that are parents, I'm sure they have an opinion about what you're serving them for dinner. Of course, they have an opinion about their breakfast and lunch at school. And so collaborating together, the students came up with the idea of they wanted this chicken churrasco bowl. Well, they met with the kitchen team, and the kitchen team said, "Yeps, we can take your spice blend. We're going to use the base rice pilaf method and add in these ingredients." The kitchen team already knew the marinade technique, spice blend technique, how to cut up the fresh limes, because again, they've just been doing that throughout the menu. And so then what you see in the picture with the students at the cart, they actually worked in the kitchen with the staff at Burtmore High School and served this dish to their over 3,000 students at that high school. And now this October, this dish will go district wide. So it just shows where you get that complete evolution of solid foundation, really focusing on the fundamentals, making sure the kitchen is set up for success, and then growing and building. And now they can take this dish and they could turn it into any flavor profile. And the students are connected with the kitchen team. And the staff administration is now connected into exactly what's being served. And that's just kind of a full circle goal for what you want to accomplish. Once you've completed, that, just kind of stepping forward in those building blocks, then it becomes really easy to, if you get access to an ingredient, like in Georgia last spring, a lot of the districts started having access to coastal Georgia shrimp. And they were able to bring in raw shrimp, steam it beautifully, lots of low country boils. We saw Baja shrimp tacos, shrimp pasta, shrimp po' boys, because again, they could just bring in these ingredients and execute them in a variety of ways because that foundation was solid. It also makes it where you can hop on a trend very easily. Those elements that create excitement for your program, both the students and the staff.
All right, so now you see on here, this is our Georgia Tray of the Week promotion. So this is where Georgia celebrating the innovative and quality meals being served in Georgia. So what this is the schools have the opportunity to submit a picture of their best tray that week to the state. The top photos are selected and then they're shared on social media on the school nutrition website. And then the public gets to vote on what they think is their favorite dish and the way the tray looks and everything. So at the end of the week on Friday, the winner is announced. And the really great thing about this is, one, it's a great way to market your program that you're doing, get it out in the public, that that stigmatism of what school meals are, you're erasing that. You're showing that we're really serving great items and quality meals here. Not only that, it also instills a sense of pride with the nutrition staff. You've heard us talk about that a few times now, but that really gives the pride to the staff that they feel great about. Hey, we cooked something from scratch. Yeah, my recipe that I cooked, I served 600 people. Now I won Tray of the Week, and they get a little certificate that they can hang in their kitchen as well. So not only that, this proves, standing down proves that serving quality meals with scratch and speed scratch can be done. No matter what the obstacles are out there, it can be done. Picture's worth 1,000 words. We have a picture every week shows that this process can be done. So now we're going to kind of go into some more of our resources that we have. So right here, you'll see menu planning guide. What this is, the guide offers a month-to-month timeline for your menu planning needs, because building your menu, and you start adding these different elements to it, start inserting some of these scratch cooking or these speed scratch cooking enhancements to your menus. It's an ongoing process throughout the whole year. So it's a full cycle that you want to do. And it doesn't matter where you start in there and it all loops around together and just keeps coming together. So it gives you that plan for month to month, what you could be doing, what you should be looking at as far as procurement, how you're going to do your training, all that kind of stuff. So if you click on that QR code, it'll take you directly to that resource. And I think it's a little booklet we have. It's about 5-6 pages long, but it's a really great resource for those doing the menu planning for your districts. So next, we have this QR code will take you to our Culinary webpage, which gives us the resources on there, which to learn more about these resources that we have created for Georgia. So what this is, there's activities in here for training videos, links to other resources to aid in building confident kitchens. So under the culinary resources tab, you'll see things like here, you got you have the fresh fruit and vegetable guide. It's like a tool for the staff to use. It's not this is a time limit that you have to follow, but it's a range. So it gives that culinary culture and gives the staff that ability to really learn what it is. And it's a reference point. Hey, if I'm steaming this, if I'm roasting this, how long about should that be taking to do that? A need to know. Pizza resources. Don't keep pizza more than 30 minutes. Serve it or toss it. Everything we can do for the quality meal. So all these resources are there. They can post up in the kitchen. So it's reminders for your staff as they're cooking their meals. See, we also have in here a recipe resource, which I saw a couple of questions come in asking about the chicken recipe. So if you go on here and you go to our recipe resource, those recipes can be found there. So that is the first couple of questions there. Thank you for those questions, by the way, and your participation with us. But you can find those there. So you click that, you scan that QR code, go to our recipe resource, and then it's a searchable document there, which we offer. It's a static, it's a dynamic process where we're constantly adding new recipes. We're constantly adding new ways to search. And there's different elements for breakfast, for lunch, for snacks, for summer feeding. All that's being added into that. Also, next to that, you'll see we have a menu matrix. So you can kind of pair that tool with the menu planning guide and really work on building those recipes. I mean, your menu. And we kind of get that set up where it kind of explains, here's your core menus that you're going to do. These are the ones that are stagnant. They stay there all the time, but it doesn't mean you can't enhance them over your cycle of your menus. So now, quality school meals for them starts with you. First and foremost, this is the why. These pictures you see here, you can see it in every state, every county, every district. These are the faces that you come in through your cafeterias. That this is the why we do what we do. So quality food for the students, proud and inspired school nutrition staff. So we have shown you that it can be done. Share these resources to help you get it done. So no matter where your program is currently at, take the next step to enhance your program to the next level. You can always do that 1% better than you did yesterday. So if you are just getting started with scratch and speed scratch cooking, start small, perfect it, and then expand. So now, if you're more than welcome to follow us, follow and engage with us, and follow us on social media. These are all of our links to that. And then from there, we'll go into any questions you may have that you can type into the Q&A little box there.
Thank you so much, Rachel, John, and Michael. We really appreciate all the wealth of all have provided our participants today. As Michael said, we're going to move into Q&A. I have my box up here, and it looks like we did receive a few questions that came through. Thank you so much for addressing the recipe questions. I did see quite a few of those that came through, and people were wanting to access those. And there's a question here, and I think Rachel, you might have had this one that you were responding to, about the resistance. Someone said in their experience, there are several schools that they worked in, seasoned lunch staff, for example, prefer paring knife to learning knife skills and prefer to pick up a cup, then fill it, then set it down. With some of those, particular resistance that is happening in schools, what is some advice that you can provide schools so they can get ahead of that?
I think that's a great question, because that is a true and real challenge and can be a bit of an obstacle. Change is something that we can all be resistant to. It's a bit uncomfortable, it's scary. I'm not the driver of the change. I'm a lot more, of a fan of change that, I'm, promoting. So I think that, making the team a part of initiatives that you want to, take on, or goals, saying we've got to get away from the paring knives, and we might use those at home, or we might use those in other applications. Help me with that. How do you suggest we do it? What could we start with? And then you'll see a lot more solutions come to play. When I was with Gwinnett, we were tasked with, scratch recipes. And so I knew it was going to be, probably not the most popular thing that I was going to present the teams with. So I said, we're going to start with one fully scratch recipe per week, and ask the managers to come up with what those recipes would be, what day of the week they wanted them on. And that really became a catalyst to then, a successful model. So that would be part of my suggestion. And start with, you've got to start small. You can't go in and turn everything upside down. And it must make sense for those kitchen teams. So really seeing, it as, this is the goal. This is where we're going to get. How we get there, it's going to make sense and it's going to work for you. And this is going to be a collaborative approach. We're just going to try it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for hitting that question. Where there's some tangible advice that can be put into play there. Michael and John, do you have anything to add to that?
The one thing I would say is one thing that another program we have at the Georgia Department of Education is we have our Culinary Innovation Program, where schools can sign up for one of the three of us to come and work with their staff throughout the school year a few times out of the year. And we're actually in the middle of doing that right now. All three of us have been traveling for the past several weeks. And, we get into these schools and, the very first day that we get there, I mean, we've never worked with them before, and we have 3 days to work with them, and we're going to throw a lot at them at one time. And there has been resistance to that as well. But it's just that upfront communication of like, I'm here to help. Yes, it is going to be a little bit different than what you've done, but let's see the result. I mean, and the proof is in the pudding in that. I mean, the results speak for themselves. Things change. I saw in the question, like, I've done it for X number of years. Yeah, things change over X number of years, and it's just that upfront communication with it.
Yeah, I think one thing to add to that is like pretty much every school that we've gone to, we've had some of that pushback a little bit. But when we leave and they see that they can, and then they understand the why we're doing it, then they want more. Then they say, oh, wow, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Oh, what do you mean? I'm already doing some speech scratch? I didn't realize that. So the fact that they have that knowledge now, and now they can say, okay, what can I do now? Sometimes we're having to kind of slow them down. So wait a second, slow your slide down a little bit. Let's take it one step at a time. Let's perfect what it is we're doing before we move on to the next step. But they're really eager for it, and they're really hungry to do these new skills and use them in their programs.
No, that's great, right? Yes, I totally agree with that. And on the lines of that, you all mentioned kitchen confidence. It was highlighted as a cornerstone of success. What attributes do you encourage directors and managers to have and to model to be effective in building that confidence within their team? So yeah, I just want to throw that out there. What do you think on that?
I think that you lead by example, inspect your expectations. People should not question what your priorities are, or what your, goals are, your vision is. So I think that, if it is to serve the best food possible to ensure that, those students are educated on nutrition and they are ready to, learn, and they're fueling their bodies well, then it's not going to even be a thought that you're not going to ensure those kitchen teams are set up for success. To be able to do something and do it confidently is critical in any job, but especially when you get into those kitchens and they are serving so many students. At the end of the day, everything lands on that kitchen team, from regulations to food safety to recognizing a reimbursable meal to ensuring the first kid and the last kid gets the exact same food and experience. And so ensuring that, they know exactly what to do and how to execute it is critical. And you should have no expectations that someone walks in that kitchen door and knows how to cook. Like John said, even if you know how to cook, and we have culinary degrees. Yeah, I didn't know what a VCM was either. It was like, what is that? And how is it used? And so professional development that is culinary focused, creates a time to, let's cut open a pineapple together. And what does it look like? And what does it taste like? And that's how you start to learn, ripeness and flavor. And so it has to be established, and great things don't happen overnight. So it takes time.
That's right.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
being upfront with your expectations of your program, and letting this, your staff know these are the expectations I expect. And like I said earlier, I mean, once you do that, those expectations just become the standard, and then they start going above that as well.
Yeah, I think communication has got to be both ways, from the central offices to the kitchens and stuff. So everybody, both sides understand all aspects of what's going on. So, and then like Rachel was talking about, that that confidence has got to be built, but they have an understanding on how culinarily everything works. So when they walk in the kitchen and tilt skillet goes down, they have to have that confidence on knowing, okay, what can we do? Because guess what? I'm still feeding the kids are coming in at the same time for lunch, no matter what. So we got to know how to do it instead of panicking. We have to have that culinary mindset and the confidence enough. So, okay, we can take this over here and we can go into the oven and do it this way. And this is what we're going to do. Here's our plan. Let's go do it. So that's where a lot of it comes into. And then that communication is key between central office and the programs themselves.
Thank you all so much. And just to kind of take it a step further, it was mentioned when reclaiming, menu control and analyzing menu needs. There were some things that were named with what menu items drive participation for directors and managers to think about. What menu items or products needs to be replaced, changes in the menu length, and items that need to be considered. Is there a particular order in a way of analyzing that, analyzing those menu needs, or is there a continuing cycle with that? How should managers approach that?
Yeah, there's best practices and steps to it. You want to have a base menu, and a base menu where things that are staples, they're here this year, and 5 years from now they're going to be on that menu. Lock those in, and part of that is to allow kitchen teams just to know it like the back of their hand, and be able to count on these spots. And it helps with forecasting, it helps with production. You also want to, look at what your goals are of your menu and protect the goals of your menu, because you can also get lost in just thinking about what the students want. And, they should not be the sole driver of your program. We're not going to, go into a classroom and the teacher's going to say, what homework do you want? Or, how do you want class to be done? Know what your vision is and know what you're looking for, and then put in changes the way you see it done out in the marketplace, where something's highlighted for a season, or, something, a flavor profile is changed. But essentially the foundation of that menu is somewhat protected so the kitchen team can execute it at the highest quality. So while, a rice bowl might, travel the globe over the course of the year, it's always on this day. The students know to expect it. The kitchen team knows how to execute it. And things like that are done really well. And you start to establish, just a really great menu where it's not an overhaul every year. It's small adjustments. Michael, John.
You said what I was going to say. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it
Pretty much
is.
covered there, Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, it is small adjustments that lead up to big changes in the end. I mean,
Yeah. I think it's just not just small adjustments, John, but it's you perfect the small adjustments before you move on to the next task.
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I mean, I was just answering a question in the chat about basically, they were asking, what if we don't have the manpower or the space to do these changes? And, without knowing, all the fine details, but my suggestion is just that. Perfect those small details. Find one menu item each day that even if it's something super small that you're just adding an additional layer of flavor to it, that is a starting point. Train on the equipment that you have, and utilize that equipment. It helps serve as an extra set of hands in your kitchens as well.
That's awesome. And to close us out here, is there any last minute advice that you can provide schools that want to, that are encouraged to kind of get in contact with their state agencies to hire a school nutrition chef at the state level?
Probably one would first off start sharing the resources that we have here. This is what the chefs have put together in Georgia. This is what is being useful for all of the districts within Georgia, how this is working. I mean, we got there, I think it's on our Confident Kitchens tab, where they can,
The district chef.
qualifications for district. Yeah, thank you, Rachel. The district chefs and the district chef job description and stuff like that. So you start on the smaller level, especially if you have a district that has a chef in the district, then you can kind of showcase that and start that dialogue with the state staff and say, hey, look what we got here. Imagine what a state level person could do.
Mhm.
Rachel?
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say, Dr. Dotson has been very supportive, obviously, of hiring 3 statewide chefs, and just the vision of, yeah, I mean, we're not just serving meals that are compliant or that meet the crediting. I mean, we're serving meals that we want the students to eat and enjoy. And it does take a level of expertise to be able to work within those parameters that are, in school nutrition, to be able to, highlight them. I mean, with the barriers that are there, with the, the crediting, the budgets, the equipment, all of that takes a special level of skill. So I think every state should have at least one,
Yeah,
if not 3.
agree.
But you can all access all of our resources and, contact us through the Culinary webpage. But you can access the recipes and the menu matrix. And, like John was saying, watch the past Culinary connections. So you've got a starting point, and food. You are feeding so many students, so you already have a level of culinary expertise, and you know what good food is. So, just take what you're already serving now and, just make sure the bun is soft and it's warm if it's on a burger and it's got a shine on it. Little touches that, you could start tomorrow.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I think that's a great segue to kind of head into our last minute announcements. But before I move forward, did anyone have any last burning key takeaways? Just want to give you that chance before we move forward to close out.
I want to
just
say,
wanna say-
go ahead, Rachel.
I was just going to say, thank you for what you do
Yeah.
to, feed students from, across the country. So you're appreciated.
Yeah, be open-minded. Listen to the students. Give them credit. A lot of people say, well, the kids aren't going to like this. Is it the kids that don't like it, or is it the staff doesn't want to have to do it? So give the kids some credit, because they're pretty, excited and like to try new things. So start small and don't just give up on it the first time something doesn't work. Find out what the problem was, tweak it, and go back again. Because once the students start hearing that you're listening to them and you're making those changes based on their feedback, you're getting their buy-in, and that's huge.
Thank y'all so much. All right, and I just have a few announcements here to kind of close us out. The Culinary Institute of Child Nutrition is now booking menus of flavor and CICN present trainings from September through December. So we still have a couple of months for those trainings. They are now active for you to sign up. These programs are crafted specifically for school nutrition professionals, bringing engaging high impact culinary learning right to your district. So there are some resources that are highlighted on the CICN as well that can help you through those trainings and things that you have highlighted in the Q&A today. The CICN Presents is a comprehensive culinary training series designed to meet school nutrition programs where they are. All the multimodal learning for adult professionals. Participants engage through a variety of learning formats with that one, with live demonstrations, hands-on activities as well. And where applicable, culinary labs. There are some standalone or stack training options and some goal-oriented learning there. We also are highlighting the menus of flavor, which are hands-on culinary training series designed specifically for school nutrition professionals. Each lesson explores a globally inspired menu with that one. So yeah, there are some great things that that are highlighted here that can also help you through what the needs that you all have highlighted on the Q&A. And so here we also highlight in our research at a glance. You can check that out on our website as well, highlighting all the things that our applied research division is working on. You can go to the icn.org/research/ to take a look at the applied research division guide there. And as a reminder, you can access all of the resources for free on the CICN website, including this webinar and others on iLearn. So please check that out. And I just want to thank Georgia School Nutrition Culinary Specialists again for being on and sharing all of their expertise and all of their work that they have been working on. We will send out a email with that recording, the evaluation survey in case you missed the pop-up link, and your attendance certificate as well. And I just want to thank all of the presenters again. Thank you to the participants for joining us today, and I hope you all have a great day.